That's using your whole body. What was the next one we talked about? Using your face, right? Your wonderful, plastic, fantastic face. And what's so great? Why do we care about using our face when we're giving a speech? Everybody's looking at your face. And it tells a story, right? Yeah, both of those things. 90% of the time is spent staring at the speaker's face. And if you're just, that doesn't get anybody excited. And it's also, I think, what we're naturally wired to respond to emotionally, right? We're reading that face for emotional content all the time. What's he thinking about? What's she saying? What's behind what she's saying? Is she excited about it, or is she kind of glum or not too happy about it? So that's why we use our face. And it's got such a wide range of emotion, right? Nancy, let's see your surprise face. Ooh, that was it. That was good. Excellent. Benny, what's your angry face look like? Yeah, perfect. Fine line between angry and constipation.
Here it goes.
We got, quick side note, we got a birthday card for my father-in-law for his 82nd birthday with a little kid straining to, you know, and the face is just priceless. Anyway, all right, so the one tip I want to give you about using your face, if you do nothing else during your speech with your face, at least smile. At least smile. Everybody can do it, and there's plenty of studies that show that you actually connect better with your audience if you do smile. Okay. All right, so we've talked about using your whole body, using your face. Let's talk about hands. Anybody ever gotten uncomfortable with their hands when they're up here? When you're on stage? What am I going to do with my hands? I'm going to use them a lot. I'm going to hide them. Hands are great. We use them all the time, right? But sometimes we misuse them. They're the best for what? Directing attention. Look up here, look down there, look over here. Oh, and quick side tip about that. The current wisdom is to use the open hand when you're gesturing. Because pointing comes off as too aggressive and threatening. Right, Bob? So use the open hand. All right? But we've got to deal with the distractive aspect of the hands. So what can we do about it? Right? Some people are using their hands constantly. And the problem with that is that it's distracting. Are you making a pizza? Are you juggling? What are you doing with those hands up there? So some of us need to quiet our hands. But putting them behind your back's not always a good move either. That can be distracting. Why? What's he doing with his hands? Where are his hands? I can't see his hands. Is he a magician? Is he going to pull a rabbit out from behind his back? Is this your card, Bob? So that can be distracting too. So what's the answer, or what do I think the answer is? Here's my tip about using your hands. Practice in front of a mirror and practice keeping your hands at your side. I've done this for a while. This is extremely difficult for me, by the way. But if you see yourself in the mirror and then maybe record yourself and see that you don't look that weird with your hands just by your sides. It's fine. People do it all the time. We just feel like it's odd because it's not something a lot of us naturally do. But you can do it and you'll survive and you'll be great. All right. So, I think that's all I had about hands, right? And in a minute or two I'm going to wrap up, but I'd like to take a little Q&A. Does anybody have any questions or things that they'd like to ask or comment on? What questions do you have?
Did the acting class really help you, or do you think there was another avenue of
That's a good question. I had mixed feelings about it. There were certain things that I thought were really good. I learned more about projecting my voice and the proper volume to speak at, and some little tidbits like that about movement. And about learning to memorize some things. I thought it was good for that. But there were a lot of these impromptu exercises that we did. I got to the end of it and just was glad it was over. Because I didn't know what I was supposed to do to do better the next time. And maybe you just keep doing that enough and it becomes more natural, but it never did for me. But they're good folks over there, and it was cheap, so I thought it was well worth it for me. Yes. Dan?
About the movement, a long time ago, when I worked for a corporation, I was always told to keep your hands at your side, like you said at the end of it. And then, of course, I knew a couple Italian guys, man, they really had it going on. And when you look at it on film, less movement's better, from what I've seen. And then I read somewhere recently, like, I think it was about Ronald Reagan, he said, if you don't just stick your weight naturally, then don't do it when you're on stick. In other words, be yourself.
Be yourself.
His advice is just do what you would normally do. Just be
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. It's no
But it
doubt.
doesn't really answer
It's
the
good
problems
advice.
where you're hiding and all that.
Right. But I think a lot of times why we're here is, well, we can speak, but we can do a better job if we practice certain things and work on certain skills. And that's where I'd say, if some things that you do are distracting, you can tone them down a little bit. You can still be yourself, but you can nudge yourself in certain directions that are going to work both for you and for your audience, I hope. All right, so I see the red light come on. What I wanted to do was leave you with a couple of don'ts and do's. I don't do do's and don'ts, I do don'ts and do's. All right, first don't for tonight, first don't try and do everything you just heard in your next speech. You'll be flailing all over the place, arms and legs will be waggling, and nobody will be paying the first bit of attention to what you have to say. Do try and fold one or two of these ideas in your next speech. Maybe try being more still, if that will work for you. Or try the open hand, or try to smile. Second don't, and I think this goes to your point, Dan, don't move for the sake of moving. Don't pace. It just drives me crazy when I see some of these keynote speakers, CEOs, you know, they're like a caged tiger up here. Oh, yeah. We're going to be the greatest company ever, blah, blah. I think there's some psychological problem for these guys. Okay. That moving for the sake of moving gets lost. If you're always moving, no moving stands out. So the do that I want to